in the cold embrace of deep space, where silence holds dominion over the scattered light of distant stars, the human vessel Resolute drifted like a predator in still water. Captain Diana Mercer stood before the observation deck, her reflection ghost-like against the infinite darkness beyond. She was a woman carved from determination, her silver-streaked hair pulled tight, her eyes carrying the weight of 300 souls aboard her ship and thousands more, depending on her success. Beside her, First Officer Thomas Raines checked the tactical display for the 100th time, his nervous energy a stark contrast to her calm. The Resolute was humanity's answer to a question the galaxy had been asking for decades. Could these young upstarts from Earth truly compete with civilizations that had sailed the stars for millennia? The ship herself was beautiful in a lethal way, all smooth curves hiding devastating firepower. Her hull painted the deep blue of Earth's oceans. Every system aboard her represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity, technology that had been developed in secret, while the rest of the galaxy dismissed humanity as fortunate. Diana turned from the window, her boots clicking softly on the deck plating. "Status report," she said, her voice carrying the quiet authority that made her crew follow her without question. "We are approaching the Vorlothy border," Lieutenant Kara Mitchell reported from the navigation console, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Stealth systems are functioning perfectly. As far as their sensors are concerned, we are nothing but cosmic dust." Diana nodded, moving to her command chair at the center of the bridge. The chair was worn from use, comfortable in the way that only familiar things can be. "Good. Maintain current velocity. I want us in position before they realize we have arrived." The mission was simple in its objective, impossible in its execution. 2 weeks earlier, a human transport vessel carrying civilian researchers had disappeared near Vorlothy space. The Vorlothy Dominion, an empire spanning 40 star systems, had denied any knowledge of the incident. The Galactic Assembly had offered sympathy, but no action. Earth's government had debated diplomatic solutions, while families mourned and demanded answers. But Diana Mercer was not a diplomat. She was a soldier, and soldiers understood that sometimes the only language power respects is power itself. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," Communications Officer Brian Foster announced. His young face creased with concentration. "It is coming from deep within Vorlothy territory, heavily encrypted, but using human protocols." Diana felt her pulse quicken, though her expression remained neutral. "Let me hear it." The speakers crackled, and then a voice emerged, weak and distorted, but unmistakably human. "This is Dr. Patricia Holloway of the research vessel Horizon. We are being held at the Vorlothy military installation on Kresh Prime. They are studying us, trying to understand our technology. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. 23 of us remain alive." The transmission ended abruptly, replaced by the quiet hum of the bridge systems. Diana closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself one moment of emotion before locking it away behind professional detachment. "Lieutenant Mitchell, plot a course for Kresh Prime. Mr. Foster, prepare a broad-spectrum communication on all Vorlothy military frequencies. Mr. Raines, bring weapon systems online, but keep them powered down until I give the word." The crew responded with practiced efficiency, each member understanding their role in the dangerous dance about to begin. Thomas Raines moved to stand beside Diana's chair, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "Diana, you know what you are asking. Kresh Prime is their military headquarters. There will be hundreds of ships protecting it. We cannot fight those numbers." Diana met his gaze steadily. "We are not here to fight, Thomas. We are here to retrieve our people and make it clear that humanity will not tolerate such actions. Sometimes a show of force prevents the need for actual force. But if they refuse," Raines pressed. "Then we adapt," Diana replied firmly. Have faith in this ship and her crew. We have advantages the Vorlithi cannot imagine. The Resolute slipped through the darkness, drawing ever closer to the heart of the Vorlithi Dominion. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by quiet status updates and the soft chirp of scanner arrays. The crew rotated through shifts, but Diana remained on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display as red markers indicating Vorlithi vessels multiplied around them. "We are entering visual range of Kresh Prime," Mitchell announced. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a world of deep purples and grays, its surface dotted with sprawling military complexes. In orbit, a fleet of angular Vorlithi warships hung like steel flowers, their hulls bristling with weapon emplacements. Diana counted 47 vessels, each one larger than the Resolute. Lieutenant Foster, open a channel to Vorlithi High Command. Diana ordered, rising from her chair. Let us introduce ourselves properly. The communication officer worked quickly, his fingers flying across his console. Channel open, Captain. All Vorlithi military frequencies are receiving. Diana stepped forward, her posture straight and commanding. This is Captain Diana Mercer of the Terran vessel Resolute. I am here on behalf of the United Earth Government to recover human citizens unlawfully detained within your territory. You have 1 standard hour to release Dr. Patricia Holloway and all members of her research team, unharmed, to my custody. Failure to comply will result in consequences. The bridge fell silent as the message transmitted across the void. Diana could feel her crew watching her, could sense their mixture of pride and fear. They all knew the risk, knew that this single action might determine humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. Captain, multiple Vorlithi vessels are breaking formation and moving to intercept us. Tactical Officer James Whitmore reported, his voice steady despite the danger. Energy signatures indicate they are preparing weapons. Diana returned to her chair, her expression calm. Maintain position. Do not power up weapons or shields. Let them approach. Captain, Rains protested. Patience, Thomas, Diana said softly. Let them think they have the advantage. The view screen split, showing the approaching Vorlithi fleet on one side, and suddenly the stern face of a Vorlithi commander on the other. The alien's skin was the color of burnished copper. His 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on his face. His expression radiating contempt. I am Fleet Commander Theron Cross of the Vorlithi Dominion. The alien said, his voice translated into perfect English by the ship's computers. You dare enter our space with demands? 1 small vessel against the might of our fleet? Your arrogance is matched only by your foolishness. Diana smiled, and there was steel in that expression. Commander Cross, I suggest you take this opportunity seriously. We know you are holding our people at your research facility on the southern continent. We know you are attempting to reverse engineer human technology. We know you believe humanity is weak, untested, and easily manipulated. You are wrong on all counts. The Vorlithi commander's eyes narrowed. You know nothing. Your species stumbled upon faster than light travel by accident. You have been in space for barely a century. We have ruled these stars for 10,000 years. What could you possibly threaten us with? Diana's smile widened. Why don't we find out? She made a small gesture, and the bridge lights dimmed as power diverted to other systems. On the hull of the Resolute, panels slid open, revealing weapon ports that had been invisible to Vorlithi scanners. The ship's reactor surged, and a field of energy surrounded the vessel, shimmering like heat waves in summer air. Captain, we are being targeted by every Vorlithi ship in range, Whitmore reported. Weapons locked on our position. Diana kept her eyes on Commander Cross. You have 58 minutes remaining to comply with my demand. I suggest you use them wisely. The transmission ended as the Vorlithi commander cut the connection, his face twisted with rage. Thomas Raines stepped closer to Diana's chair, his voice urgent but controlled. "Diana, they are going to fire on us. We need to raise shields." "Not yet," Diana replied. "Let them think about what they have seen. Let them wonder what else we are hiding." Across the void, aboard the Volothy flagship, Commander Cross stared at the readings his sensors provided. The human ship had revealed weapon systems that should not exist, energy signatures that his scientists could not identify. But surely one vessel, no matter how advanced, could not stand against his entire fleet. Yet something in the human captain's eyes, a certainty, a dangerous calm, made him hesitate. What are they planning, he wondered, and why did he suddenly feel like prey instead of predator? The minutes crawled by like hours as two civilizations stood at the precipice of conflict. Diana Mercer remained motionless in her command chair, her eyes tracking the tactical display where Volothy vessels had formed a perfect encirclement around the Resolute. Her crew worked in disciplined silence, each officer monitoring their station with intense focus. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to taste, but Diana had trained these people well. Fear was acceptable. Panic was not. "Captain, we are detecting increased communications traffic among the Volothy fleet," Brian Foster reported, his headset pressed tight against his ear. "They are requesting orders from Planetary Command. Seems our arrival has created some confusion." "Good," Diana replied. "Confusion breeds hesitation. Thomas, what is our power status?" First Officer Raines consulted his display. "Reactor operating at 40% capacity. All systems nominal. The new graviton emitters are charged and ready, though we have never tested them in actual combat conditions." "Then let us hope it does not come to that," Diana said quietly, though both of them knew hope was a fragile thing in the void of space. Lieutenant Kara Mitchell turned from her navigation console, her expression troubled. "Captain, I am picking up movement on the planet's surface. Several large transports are lifting off from the military complex in the southern continent. They appear to be evacuating something." "Or someone," Diana said, feeling a surge of hope. "Mr. Foster, can you intercept their communications?" Foster's fingers flew across his controls. "Attempting to break their encryption now. The entire galaxy uses similar quantum algorithms, but the Volothy have added layers we have not seen before." "Keep trying," Diana ordered. "I need to know if they are moving our people." Time continued its relentless march. 45 minutes remaining. 40. 35. The Volothy fleet maintained its formation, weapons powered, but not yet firing. Diana knew this dance well. Commander Cross was waiting for orders from higher authority, unwilling to start a war without permission, but equally unwilling to appear weak. It was the same calculation leaders had been making since the dawn of civilization. Only now the stakes were measured in star systems instead of territories. "Captain, I have something," Foster announced suddenly. "I managed to decrypt a fragment of their command traffic. There is significant debate among Volothy leadership about how to respond. Some advocate for immediate attack, others for negotiation. But there is a third faction arguing for something else, though I cannot determine what." Diana leaned forward slightly. "Keep monitoring." "Any mention of the prisoners?" "Nothing specific," Foster admitted. "But the transports that launched earlier are heading toward the orbital station, not away from the planet. That is unusual for an evacuation." James Whitmore spoke up from the tactical station, his voice carrying an edge of urgency. "Captain, sensors are detecting a new energy signature. Something is powering up on the planetary surface, something massive. Classification indicates it may be a planetary defense weapon." Diana felt her stomach tighten, but her voice remained calm. "Specifications?" Whitmore worked quickly. "Based on the energy readings, it appears to be a particle beam cannon, likely designed for orbital bombardment defense. If they fire that weapon at us, our shields will not hold. Thomas Raines moved to Diana's side, his voice low. Diana, we need to move. If that weapon fires, there will be nothing left of us but scattered atoms. Diana shook her head slightly. If we run now, they win. Every species in the galaxy will know that humanity backs down when challenged. Our people will never be safe. Then what do you propose? Raines asked, frustration bleeding into his tone. We cannot survive that weapon. Diana's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. We do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We change the game. She pressed a control on her chair's armrest. All hands, this is the captain. I need you to trust me for the next few minutes. What happens next may seem reckless, may seem suicidal, but I promise you it is neither. We came here for our people, and we are not leaving without them. The intercom clicked off, and Diana turned to her weapons officer. Mr. Whitmore, target that planetary defense weapon. I want the firing solution ready, but do not lock on yet. The young officer's eyes widened. Captain, if we target their planet, they will definitely fire on us. That is the idea, Diana said. Lieutenant Mitchell, prepare for an emergency evasion pattern, Delta 7. We will have approximately 3 seconds between when their weapon fires and when it reaches our position. 3 seconds. Mitchell repeated, her face pale. Captain, that is not enough time to move the ship out of the beam's path. It is if we are not where they think we are, Diana replied cryptically. She turned to Foster. Mr. Foster, I need you to send a message. Route it through every communication channel we have. Make it impossible to block or ignore. Address it to the Vorlithy people, not their military. Foster swallowed hard. What should the message say? Diana closed her eyes, gathering her thoughts. Tell them this. People of the Vorlithy Dominion, I am Captain Diana Mercer of Earth. Your leaders have taken peaceful researchers from my world and are holding them prisoner. They are experimenting on them, treating sentient beings as laboratory specimens. I have come to bring them home. I did not come to start a war. I came to uphold the principles that all civilized species claim to value: justice, dignity, and the sanctity of life. Your military believes they can destroy my ship and hide their crimes. They are wrong. But this is not a threat. It is a choice. Choose the kind of civilization you want to be. Choose whether your leaders act in your name or in their own interests. You have 20 minutes to return my people safely. After that, I will be forced to demonstrate what humanity is capable of when pushed. Foster finished recording the message, his hands trembling slightly. Captain, if I send this, there is no going back. Every government in the galaxy will know what happened here. I know, Diana said softly. Send it. The message transmitted, racing across all frequencies, bypassing military channels and broadcasting directly to civilian networks. Within seconds, it was being received by billions of Vorlithy citizens, playing in homes and workplaces across their empire. Diana imagined families hearing her words, imagined them questioning what their government had done in their name. Aboard the Vorlithy flagship, Commander Cross stared at his communication officer in fury. How did that transmission reach the civilian networks? The officer shook his head helplessly. I do not know, Commander. They used techniques we have never encountered. It went through every channel simultaneously. We could not block it. Cross slammed his fist against his command console. They have turned this into a public spectacle. The High Council will demand blood for this humiliation. He opened a channel to the planetary defense installation. Fire the orbital cannon. Destroy that ship now. On the Resolute's bridge, alarms began shrieking. The planetary defense weapon is powering up to full capacity, Whitmore announced. They are targeting us. Estimate 10 seconds to firing sequence. All hands brace for evasion, Diana commanded, her voice cutting through the alarm's wail. "Mitchell, stand by. Whitmore, the moment they fire, I want you to launch our demonstration package." Firing in 5 seconds, Whitmore counted down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Energy discharge detected. A beam of concentrated particles, bright enough to sear retinas, lanced upward from the planet's surface. It crossed the distance between surface and orbit in less than a heartbeat, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. But in that fraction of a second, before it reached the Resolute's position, Diana gave the order. Now, the Resolute seemed to flicker, as if reality itself had stuttered. The particle beam passed through empty space where the ship had been, its deadly energy dissipating harmlessly into the void. The ship reappeared 2,000 kilometers from its previous position. Having jumped through a fold in space that conventional physics said was impossible, across the Volathi fleet, sensors registered the event with confusion. Ships could not teleport. It violated every known principle of faster-than-light travel. Yet the human vessel had done exactly that. Simultaneously, the Resolute's demonstration package activated. Dozens of small probes, each no larger than a human fist, dispersed from the ship and distributed themselves throughout the Volathi fleet formation. They activated in unison, each probe generating a localized field that interfaced directly with Volathi computer systems. For exactly 5 seconds, every Volathi warship lost control. Weapons went offline. Navigation failed. Life support stuttered. The mighty fleet hung helpless in space at the complete mercy of the lone human vessel. Then, just as suddenly, the probes deactivated and the Volathi systems returned to normal. But the message was clear. We could have destroyed you all, but we chose not to. Commander Cross sat in his command chair, his 3 eyes wide with shock. What just happened? His tactical officer's voice shook as he replied. They took control of our entire fleet, sir. For 5 seconds, they owned us. If they had wanted to destroy us, we would all be dead. The communication console chimed, and a priority message appeared from Volathi High Command. The orders were brief and direct. Stand down. Release the human prisoners immediately. Comply with all demands from the Earth vessel. The transport shuttle crossed the void between Kresh Prime and the Resolute with agonizing slowness, though in reality, the journey took less than 20 minutes. Diana Mercer stood in the docking bay, her hands clasped behind her back to hide their trembling. Around her, medical personnel prepared gurneys and equipment, ready to treat whatever condition the prisoners might be in. The bay was silent except for the gentle hum of life support and the occasional quiet instruction from Dr. Robert Hayes. The ship's chief medical officer, First Officer Thomas Raines, stood beside Diana, his expression unreadable. "You did it," he said quietly. "Against impossible odds, you did it." Diana shook her head slightly. "We did it. This crew, their skills, their courage. I merely pointed us in the right direction." Raines smiled faintly. "Always the humble commander. But we both know that what you accomplished here today will change everything. It already is changing things." The docking clamps engaged with a metallic clang, and the bay's atmosphere equalized with a hiss. The shuttle's hatch opened, revealing a Volathi escort officer who stepped aside quickly. Then, slowly, humans began to emerge. They were thin, their clothes torn and dirty, their faces marked by fear and exhaustion. But they were alive. Dr. Patricia Holloway was the first to set foot on the Resolute's deck, her eyes scanning the bay with disbelief. She was a woman in her 50s, her gray hair matted, but her spine remained straight with determination. When her gaze found Diana, something broke in her expression. "Captain Mercer," Patricia said, her voice cracking. "They said no one was coming. They said Earth had abandoned us." Diana stepped forward, her military bearing softening. "Dr. Holloway, Earth never abandoned you. We were coming from the moment we learned where you were. Patricia moved forward on unsteady legs, and Diana caught her, supporting her weight. Behind Patricia, 22 more humans emerged from the shuttle, each one greeted by medical personnel who gently guided them toward treatment areas. Families, Diana thought. Researchers and their children. People who had wanted nothing more than to explore and learn, now traumatized by their captivity. How long? Patricia whispered. How long were we prisoners? 14 days, Diana replied. Though I imagine it felt like much longer. Patricia nodded, tears streaming down her face. They studied us like animals. They wanted to understand why humans adapted so quickly to space travel, why our technology advanced so rapidly. They ran tests, scans, experiments. She shuddered. But you came for us. One ship against their entire empire. Why? Diana helped Patricia to a medical gurney where Dr. Hayes began his examination. Because you are ours, Diana said simply. Because every human life matters. Because we do not leave our people behind. She squeezed Patricia's hand gently. Rest now. You are safe. The doctor and his team will take care of you. Diana moved through the docking bay, speaking briefly with each rescued prisoner, offering words of comfort and reassurance. She saw the trauma in their eyes, the scars that would take years to heal. But she also saw something else. Hope, gratitude, the knowledge that they had not been forgotten. An hour later, Diana stood once more on the bridge as the Resolute prepared to depart Vorlithy space. The fleet that had surrounded them now maintained a respectful distance, their weapons powered down, their posture no longer threatening. It was a strange reversal, predators treating their former prey with wary respect. Captain, Lieutenant Mitchell reported, we are receiving a transmission request from the planet. It is marked personal for you. From whom? Diana asked. Commander Theron Cross. Diana raised an eyebrow, but nodded. On screen. The Vorlithy commander appeared, his copper skin darker than before, his 3 eyes showing something that might have been shame. Captain Mercer, he began, his translator rendering his words with careful formality. I am required to inform you that all charges against the Vorlithy personnel responsible for the abduction have been filed. They will face trial under our law. Diana studied the alien commander. And what does Vorlithy law say about such crimes? Cross's eyes met hers steadily. The penalty for unlawful imprisonment and experimentation on sentient beings is severe. Those responsible will spend the remainder of their lives in detention. It is not enough, I know, but it is what our law allows. Diana was silent for a moment. Commander Cross, I did not come here seeking vengeance. I came for justice and for my people. You have provided both. What happens now to those who ordered these acts is for your society to decide. But know this, the galaxy is watching. The Vorlithy must choose what kind of civilization they will be going forward. Cross nodded slowly. Your demonstration today, your restraint when you could have destroyed us, has sparked much debate among my people. There are those who call for continued hostility toward Earth, but there are others, many others, who question the path our leaders have chosen. You have given us much to consider. The transmission ended, and Diana turned to find her entire bridge crew watching her. Their faces showed a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and pride. They had done something extraordinary together, something that would be studied and discussed for generations. But more importantly, they had upheld the values they served. They had rescued the innocent, demonstrated strength without cruelty, and proven that humanity belonged among the stars. Mr. Raines, Diana said, set course for Earth. Best possible speed. It is time to bring our people home. As the Resolute turned away from Kresh Prime, its sleek hull catching the light of the system's star, something remarkable was happening across the Vorlithy Dominion. In homes and gathering places, citizens discussed the human captain who had risked everything for her people. They debated the morality of their government's actions. They questioned why their leaders had chosen confrontation over dialogue with this young species. The seeds of change, planted by courage and watered by restraint, began to take root. In the weeks that followed, the story of the Resolute spread across the galaxy. Other species, some who had dismissed humanity, now reconsidered their positions. The Galactic Assembly formally condemned the Vorlathi actions and commended Earth's measured response. Trade agreements were offered, diplomatic channels opened, and slowly, humanity's place in the cosmic community began to shift. But for Diana Mercer, the most important moment came 3 days into their journey home. Dr. Patricia Holloway, recovered enough to walk the ship's corridors, found Diana in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. They stood together in comfortable silence before Patricia spoke. "Captain, what you did back there, the risk you took. Most commanders would have chosen a military solution, overwhelming force or nothing at all." Diana smiled faintly. "Violence should always be the last option, not the first. I wanted to show them that humans can be strong without being cruel, that we value all life, even when it would be easier not to." Patricia nodded. "You gave those prisoners hope when they had none. You gave Earth a victory without bloodshed. But more than that, you showed the galaxy who we are. Not conquerors or warriors, but people who care about each other enough to risk everything. That is the story that will spread, Captain. Not the story of your weapons or your technology, but the story of your character." Diana turned to face the older woman. "I was just doing my duty, Doctor. Any captain would have done the same." Patricia shook her head. "No, Captain. Not every leader has the courage to choose the difficult path. You could have destroyed that fleet when you had control. Many would have, calling it self-defense or justice. But you showed mercy. That takes a different kind of strength." They stood together, watching the stars pass by, each lost in their own thoughts. Somewhere out there, civilizations were learning a new truth about humanity. They were learning that Earth's children, though young in the cosmic scale, carried wisdom earned through countless generations of struggle and growth. They were learning that strength measured not in weapons but in principles. In the willingness to extend a hand rather than a fist was the truest power of all. For Diana, the mission was complete. Her people were safe, justice had been served, and no lives had been lost. But she knew this was just the beginning. Other challenges would come, other crises that would test humanity's resolve and character. Yet she felt ready for them. The Resolute emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Her hull gleaming in the distant light of Sol, Diana Mercer stood on the bridge, watching her home star grow larger on the view screen, and felt an emotion she rarely allowed herself to experience. Pure, uncomplicated relief. They had made it home. Every single person they had gone to rescue was aboard, alive, and recovering. The mission that had seemed impossible had succeeded beyond her most optimistic projections. "Captain, we are being hailed by Earth Defense Command," Brian Foster announced, his young face breaking into a genuine smile. "They are requesting permission to dispatch an escort fleet." Diana returned his smile. "Tell them we would be honored." Within minutes, a dozen Earth vessels appeared around the Resolute, not as guards, but as an honor escort. Their hulls bore the insignia of different nations and alliances, a reminder that humanity, despite its divisions, could unite when it mattered. The formation moved toward Earth together, a statement of solidarity that brought tears to more than one crew member's eyes. Lieutenant Kara Mitchell turned from her station. "Captain, we are receiving transmission requests from every major news network on Earth. They all want interviews with you." Diana shook her head. "Schedule them through official channels, but make it clear that this was not about one person. Every member of this crew performed their duties with excellence. Every officer on this bridge deserves recognition. Thomas Raines stepped closer, his voice quiet enough that only Diana could hear. They will make you a hero whether you like it or not. The lone captain who stood against an empire and won. It is a good story, and humanity needs good stories right now. Diana sighed. I am a soldier, Thomas, not a symbol. A symbol is exactly what we need, Raines countered. Something to unite around, something to believe in. Whether you want it or not, that is what you have become. The fleet entered Earth orbit, and Diana looked down at the blue-green world that had given birth to her species. Somewhere down there, families were waiting to be reunited with loved ones they had thought lost forever. Somewhere, children would hear the story of how their parents were rescued and would dream of sailing among the stars themselves. Somewhere, leaders were already planning how to leverage this victory into stronger galactic relationships. Dr. Patricia Holloway appeared on the bridge, accompanied by several of the other rescued researchers. They had insisted on being present when the Resolute reached home. Patricia moved to stand beside Diana, both women gazing at Earth together. Captain, Patricia said softly, I wanted to thank you again before we disembark. Not just for the rescue, but for how you did it. You could have gone in with weapons blazing, demanding our return through force. But you chose a different way. You showed them our best qualities instead of our worst. Diana turned to face the rescued researchers. Dr. Holloway, you and your team were studying ways to improve long-distance space travel, trying to make it safer and more efficient for all species. That is what brought you to that region of space. That is why you were vulnerable to people who saw knowledge as something to steal rather than share. You were doing exactly what humanity should do among the stars, learning, growing, reaching out. I simply made sure you could continue that work. Patricia smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. Still, you gave us hope when we had none. That is a gift I will carry for the rest of my life. The transport shuttles began ferrying the rescued humans down to Earth's surface. Diana watched each departure on the monitors, seeing the joy on faces as people stepped onto solid ground, as families rushed forward to embrace returned loved ones. This, she thought, this is why we serve. Not for glory or recognition, but for these moments of reunion, for the knowledge that what we do matters. Captain, Lieutenant Mitchell called out, we are receiving a priority transmission from the Global Assembly. They are requesting your presence at an emergency session tomorrow morning. Diana nodded. Acknowledge and confirm my attendance. She knew what was coming. Debriefings, strategy sessions, endless questions about every decision she had made during the mission. There would be praise and criticism in equal measure. Debates about whether her actions had been too aggressive or not aggressive enough. Politics would transform what had been a rescue mission into something more complicated. But that was tomorrow's concern. After the last shuttle had departed, Diana gathered her bridge crew. They looked tired but satisfied, these officers who had performed so brilliantly under pressure. She studied each face, committing this moment to memory. I want you all to know, Diana began, that what we accomplished together will stand as one of the defining moments in human space exploration. Not because we demonstrated superior technology or firepower, though we did both, but because we proved that humanity can be strong and compassionate, determined and merciful. We showed the galaxy that Earth's children have learned from our violent history and chosen a better path forward. She paused, making sure to meet each person's eyes. You all performed beyond expectation. You trusted me when I made decisions that seemed reckless. You executed your duties flawlessly, under circumstances that would have broken lesser crews. I am honored to serve with you. The bridge erupted in spontaneous applause, crew members embracing each other, celebrating not just the mission's success, but their survival and the bonds they had forged. Diana smiled, allowing herself this moment of joy. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new responsibilities. But today, they had won. That evening, Diana stood alone in her quarters, looking at Earth through the viewport. She thought about all the humans down there, going about their lives, most of them unaware of how close they had come to war. She thought about the Vorlithy, and whether Commander Cross would succeed in reforming his civilization. She thought about the rescued researchers, and the trauma they would carry. Her communication battle chimed, and she accepted the incoming message. The face of Admiral Richard Sterling, head of Earth Space Command, appeared. "Captain Mercer," the Admiral said, his weathered face showing pride. "You have done something extraordinary. The entire planet is celebrating. The rescued families are home. We avoided a war, and you have positioned Earth as a moral authority in the galaxy. Well done." Diana inclined her head. "Thank you, Admiral. But I hope this is not seen as an invitation for others to test us. We were prepared for this mission. We might not be so fortunate next time." Sterling nodded gravely. "Which is why the Global Assembly is meeting. There is talk of expanding our fleet, of developing more ships like the Resolute. Some want to establish formal military alliances with other species. Others advocate for diplomatic solutions to future conflicts. It will be debated for months." Diana allowed herself a small smile. "That sounds healthy, Admiral. A democracy should debate important decisions. Just make sure they remember that our strength comes not from how many weapons we build, but from why we build them. To protect, not to conquer. To defend, not to dominate." The conversation ended, and Diana returned to watching Earth. She thought about her crew, already dispersing to their families, carrying the story of what they had accomplished. She thought about young people who would hear that story and be inspired to join the space service, to be part of humanity's great adventure among the stars. She thought about the future, uncertain but bright with possibility. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Thomas Raines entered, carrying 2 glasses and a bottle of aged whiskey. "I thought you might need this," he said, pouring generous amounts into each glass. Diana accepted hers with a grateful nod. "To absent friends and present company?" Raines raised his glass. "To the Resolute and her crew. May we always remember what we achieved here and why it mattered." They drank in comfortable silence, 2 friends who had faced the abyss together and returned stronger. After a moment, Raines spoke again. "What do you think happens next, Diana? More missions like this? More rescues?" Diana considered the question carefully. "I think we enter a new phase of human history, Thomas. We have proven we can compete with older civilizations. We have shown that our values are not weaknesses, but strengths. Now we must figure out what kind of galactic citizens we want to be. Do we become another empire, expanding and dominating? Or do we forge a different path, one based on cooperation and mutual respect?" "That is a big question for one captain to answer," Raines observed. Diana smiled. "I am not trying to answer it. I am just hoping that when the leaders and politicians debate these things, they remember what worked here. We did not win through overwhelming force. We won through restraint, through demonstrating our capabilities without using them destructively. That restraint earned us more respect than violence ever could have." Raines nodded thoughtfully. "You changed something fundamental, Diana. Before this mission, humanity was seen as the new kids, lucky and technologically advanced, but untested. Now we are seen as people of principle. That is a reputation worth having." They finished their drinks, and Raines departed, leaving Diana alone with her thoughts once more. She moved to her desk and opened her personal log, wanting to record her reflections while they were still fresh. "Captain's personal log," she began. Mission to recover human prisoners from Borlothy space concluded successfully. All personnel returned safely. No casualties on either side. Demonstrated new defensive technologies with positive results. She paused, considering what else to say. Then she continued. I find myself thinking about the nature of power. We had the capability to destroy the entire Borlothy fleet. For 5 seconds, their lives were completely in our hands. The temptation to use that power, to punish them for what they had done, was real. But we chose differently. We chose to show mercy. Diana leaned back in her chair. I believe that choice, more than any weapon or technology, defines who we are as a species. We have known violence. We have experienced the horrors of war and the cost of hatred. We have learned, painfully and slowly, that true strength lies not in the capacity to harm, but in the wisdom to choose compassion when vengeance would be easier. If we can carry that lesson with us as we continue our journey among the stars, if we can remember that every species we encounter is composed of individuals who love and hope and fear just as we do, then perhaps we can build something better than the empires of old. Perhaps we can create a future where cooperation replaces conquest, where diversity is celebrated rather than feared. She closed the log and stood, stretching muscles that had been tense for too many days. Tomorrow would bring ceremonies and meetings, speeches and interviews. Politicians would debate, strategists would plan, and humanity would continue its complicated dance of progress and setback. But tonight she could rest, knowing that 23 people were home with their families because of the courage and skill of her crew. In homes across Earth, children asked their parents to tell them again about the brave captain and her ship. The story spread through schools and media, inspiring a new generation to look up at the stars with wonder rather than fear. Artists created paintings and songs celebrating the Resolute's journey. Writers crafted novels exploring the themes of courage and mercy. The mission became mythology, as important events often do, growing larger in the retelling, but never losing its essential truth. On distant Borlothy worlds, the debate continued as well. Reform movements gained strength, questioning the militaristic policies that had led to conflict with Earth. Young Borlothy looked at the restraint shown by Captain Mercer and wondered if their own civilization could learn similar lessons. Change came slowly, as it always does, but it came. And in the cold vastness of space, other civilizations took note. The humans were no longer just the lucky newcomers with surprising technology. They were a people of principle, willing to risk everything for their values, strong enough to show mercy when violence would have been easier. That reputation, earned through one mission by one ship, would shape humanity's relationships across the galaxy for generations to come. Diana Mercer eventually fell asleep in her quarters aboard the Resolute, the ship that had become more home than any place on Earth. She dreamed of stars and distant worlds, of first contact scenarios yet to come, of challenges that would test humanity's character again and again. But she also dreamed of hope, of a future where different species worked together, learned from each other, and built something greater than any one civilization could achieve alone. When she woke the next morning, Earth hung brilliant and beautiful outside her viewport. It was time to go home, to face whatever came next, to continue the great adventure of being human among the stars. The Resolute had proven what one ship could do. Now it was time to discover what humanity as a whole might accomplish.